Hey guys, Magma, and today we're back with a brand new video, and today we'll be talking about the Netflix original anime Devilman Crybaby. Of course, this has already, got a lot of attraction from, PewDiePie reviewing it, the biggest YouTuber on the platform, and also we got all those memes, all that. But I just finished it recently, like a week ago, and, I just kept on thinking about it, and I thought, you know what, I think I should just make a video about this, because my mind is spiraling out of control on this anime. So I thought if I make a video about this, then we can just talk about it, give my honest opinions on the show, and get it over and done with. And I have to say, this show is pretty fantastic. Like, damn, Netflix did something really good. And I don't mean just like decent, I don't mean just, good or okay or passable. No, I mean like really good, like really great. That is how good Devilman Crybaby is. So I've kind of intended this video for people who haven't seen it. I'm pretty much just letting them know my thoughts, and also why I think you should watch it if you haven't seen it. Now, in case of anyone who doesn't know who Devilman is a Japanese superhero, and the manga came out really all the way back in the 70s and was pretty influential over there in Japan. It inspired some famous creations like Berserk and Evangelion, so pretty influential there, although it's not well known, like, over here, before the Netflix original anime came out. So, it seemed like a big surprise that I've never heard of it. But, here we are, we've got this Netflix original adaptation, and, ooh, hot diggity damn, is it good. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this anime, so first off, we'll just get the basic, story premise out of the way. With Devilman Crybaby, the story's pretty much about this guy called Akira Fudo, and what you want to know about him is he's basically a big crybaby. He's a big pussy. He cries all the time whenever he sees like suffering, like he sees a cat dies, he cries. He hears like some tragic thing happen on the news, he cries. He cries about everything, really, right? But then one day, what happens is him and his strange friend Rio go to a Sabbath party, and over there he gets possessed by a demon called Amon, right? But since he has such a pure heart, he takes over the demon and controls it, and this is why he turns into Devilman, half devil, half man, and that's why he becomes a superhero, hunting down other demons and fighting them. And that might sound, pretty basic, and that's really only like the first half of the show, because, oh boy, like in episode 6 there's a big turn. Like, damn, there's like, it's kind of the show split into two halves. There's like the first half, which is kind of like, oh, here's the origin story. Here's like, these built-up boss battles that Devilman has to fight, which the first half is also really good. Honestly, I think sections of this anime are better than the manga itself, because after I seen this show, I did some research for myself, checked up on the manga itself, and the manga is actually really short. It's only 6 chapters, which is really surprising, but I really like that aspect as well, because it's a simple story, beginning, middle, and an end, and that's it, it doesn't go on forever and ever and ever. Or there's been a lot of adaptations, oh boy, there's been a lot, and other continuations. But just for the manga itself, the original is just 6 chapters, and this anime is actually probably like this is definitely the definitive adaptation of the manga there is, because there's like, all the other adaptations are inferior to this one.
Is it okay for me to wear my shoes in here?
I don't give a shit.
You mean he tried to kill you? Incredible.
And then he died. Ah! Dad, our dog's dead.
I couldn't stand not having a bath every day.
Let me know next time. I'll soap your tits for you. Whoa, hey!
And I can explain why later on, but yeah, in the manga, it's actually, some parts of it are kind of rushed, like the demon part, where like Akira fights the demons, because he fights like these 2 demons really closely. Like just one day he's just like relaxing in his chair, a demon comes after him, he defeats that demon, and then another demon, like Silene I think it was, just comes out of nowhere and then attacks him. Things are really rushed in the manga, where in the anime they let things like, kind of span out and they build up towards these fights. So there's a lot more going into them, especially with the Silene fight in episode 5, which is just really one of my favourite episodes of the anime here. Just everything about it, the fighting, the animation, soundtrack is all just mwah, perfect. And speaking of the animation and soundtrack, let's just talk about the animation first of all, because the animation is going to be the first thing you notice. and it looks very unique and very original and very different to any other animes you'll see. It has this like this look to it where things are like over characterized or something. Like there are certain times it just looks beautiful, that's what I have to say. Like the animation's very different looking, although sometimes, you know, just due to how the animation is and how different it is, I can't tell if it's meant to be like that, because sometimes it just looks a little lazy when there's like no one moving. Then other times it just looks fantastic. So those parts where it's like, you know, looks a bit odd, like, you know, sometimes it can really show off like a lot of, you know, it can be very expressive in the facial animation, so sometimes it looks kind of weird. But those are like few very short moments in like a 10 episode anime that'll take you like what, under 4 hours to watch overall. So no complaints about that really, just it's kind of odd because sometimes you're like, is that intentional or is that because it's very different looking from any other anime. But the animation for me, 10 out of 10. I really like the animation aside from those few, you know, weird moments where it's like I couldn't tell if it was intentional or whatever. And then the soundtrack, oh my god, this soundtrack is just like, the thing about the show is it has a lot of personality in it. Like you see the rapper characters as well, you know, they're commentating on what's going on around in the world as the show goes on, and you realize this. And the entire like show is very like definitely unique. Like you can tell just by the soundtrack, because like there are so many different songs in here. Now if you put them together, they don't even sound like they're from the same show. They sound so different. Like in one song you have this like orchestral battle theme that's all epic, you know. And then another one, you got these synth waves coming in. And then on another one, you got these like songs that will bring you to the brink of tears and turn you into a real crybaby. It is just insane how like varying the soundtrack is and how different it sounds. And really that is, I think, the animation and soundtrack are definitely the two biggest strong suits of Devilman Crybaby. And just on the surface level, just had the animation and soundtrack, that would have been pretty good, but it also has a great story too, which is, you know, is a great plus. Now when Akira turns into Devilman, one thing that also changes about him is his personality, right? He pretty much is turned into, imagine Spider-Man, but instead of turning emo afterwards in like Spider-Man 3, he just turns emo straight away. That's pretty much who Akira is. Like, for some reason when he turns into, you know, Devilman, his normal appearance, he just has a butt chin and some eyeliner. That doesn't explain it. And also, every girl wants to have sex with Akira because he's just so, he's just so attractive, you know, Akira Fudo. Because of just like, I don't know, maybe something about his eyeliner and his butt chin. But he's also got increased speed, he's got all of this, everybody wants to bang him, you know, very, of course, different personality, but at his core, he's still a crybaby. What actually fuels his power as Devilman is when he sees other people suffering, and he still cries when he is Devilman. And that is what, you know, he fights for other people, he fights against demons, all of that. And that's pretty much the first half of the show, you know, it goes on with that pretty much basic premise with like, instead of not feeling like a monster of the week, because they're kind of, you know, built up to these fights, that's pretty much kind of like what it is, you know, the first half of the show, the first 5 episodes, which is still pretty great. But then the second half comes in, and oh damn, things get crazy. I can't like talk about what happens, but oh my, especially the last 2 episodes, that's when things get really down. And it's very different from the first half, because the first thing you notice when you're watching the show is very hypersexual and hyper-violent and all of that. I know some people are a little, you know, iffy about nudity. I mean, like, you know, whatever. I don't really care about that stuff, I never get sensitive, but damn, some of this stuff is just Jesus. Like, there's like a scene where a vagina turns into like a mouth and has teeth, and then a tongue comes out, and then it just consumes somebody, like Jesus, and then like someone's boob stretches out, and then like the nipple, you know, turns into like, you know, these sharp razor teeth, and then eats someone. Like, Jesus Christ, like, in the manga itself, there was even one monster that had a vagina for a face and a face for a vagina. That is how, you know, disturbing and weird that is. And also, there's over, like, the first half was just incredibly horny, you know, there's a lot of nudity in the first half, I'll tell you that, like, ooh, hot diggity damn. So, you know, if you don't mind that, then that should be no problem. Although, keep in mind, those do, like, the sexual themes and the entire horny nature of the first half gets pretty much entirely ditched in the second half. And of course it's also very hyper violent. Like, Jesus Christ, how violent this show is. Like, who you probably like used to this if you see a lot of violent anime, but it is very violent if you haven't seen a lot of anime. Like, I would never want to see this kind of violence in like a live action film or anything. Like, jeez, it is very bloody, very gruesome, all that lovely stuff that I love. And also, since we're talking about the story, let's talk about the side characters, because in the manga, look, the side characters weren't really well developed. They're kind of one-dimensional, and, you know, they're only there to, you know, develop the main character. They didn't really have much substance to them in the original manga, where in this anime, they are very well developed because of this side plot they added in about this sport where they have to, like, pass this baton. I don't know what it's called. That pretty much ties all the characters together, and the side characters who play this sport, and that develops them more further on, which makes us care about the characters more. And even some of the characters who were just like, you know, we barely ever see, even they get developed. Some people like said the ending here is not as good as in the manga, and the manga has more finality to it. PewDiePie said that in his review, and I have to say, I have no idea what he's talking about. PewDiePie has to be nuts or something. Yeah, that's why I'm calling you out, PewDiePie. Because the ending here, I think, has more finality here in the anime than the manga, because they actually added in an extra scene after the credits in the anime. So, if anything, this has more finality to it than the manga, which I think, and that's why I think you should definitely watch this instead of reading the manga, because just like how it is today, it is much more satisfying if you watch these like moments come out on the screen instead of just reading about them, since it's very old manga, and some stuff are definitely improved in the anime, with the anime having a better, you know, conclusion to it, adding more finality to the story instead of it feeling a little rushed. And also there's more character development for the side characters, you know, all these things. And also the soundtrack and the animation really bring an entire new flavour to it, with like some scenes and this like nice warm orange glow to it, and then others with this hardcore, like, you know, red to it. All this, the soundtrack, animation really adds a lot to this story here. And also the dub's pretty good as well, unlike the original OVA. So honestly, it's more satisfying because there's also some really emotional, tear-jerking moments here, especially in the last half of the show. You know, it's kind of like split into two, you know, story parts. The first half, where it's just like the origin story and these demon battles, and the second half, where it's just pure misery, apocalyptic world, you know, all of that stuff. So it's more satisfying if you watch this than reading the manga. Like, you can read the manga afterwards to see how it is, but honestly, I definitely recommend watching this. And this is the definitive adaptation, so, like, because, you know, like, none of the other adaptations, like, if you especially watch the original OVA, Jesus, is that dub just terrible. And most of them, I don't think any of the actually animes of Devilman have actually completed the story to completion. I'm not sure. I think this is the only one that actually has it to the end, where they do the entire manga. So definitely check this remake out of Devilman. The second half, oh boy, it has themes of acceptance and prejudice. And I feel like, you know, you can definitely tell some elements of this story was modernized, because these, like, you know, these are really important in today's social climate. So it's very relevant to what we're doing now. And even, like, Donald Trump is in this anime, so yeah, there you go. Very complex, the second half. You know, you got stuff of mass hysteria, fear-mongering, commentary on war and love, understanding, exploring the dark side of human nature. Also, you know, why, you know, the belonging, you know, like what it means to be human. It's a lot of complicated stuff in the second half, that's all I have to say. And some people have said this is like a little rush, like between the first half and second half, where it just feels like, well, this is a big change, everything's apocalyptic now, just pure misery, which by if you like Berserk and Evangelion, then you're definitely gonna love this. Which, I mean, it's even more jarring in the manga, so, because they have this just guy, like, talking about stuff, and it's just like, wait a second, what? You know, it's very jarring in the manga, Where in the anime it's definitely dealt with a lot more, although some people felt like it was rushed. I felt it was fine personally. And I also like how they use the crying element, like how crying is actually used as a strength in this show and not as a weakness, because in other media portrayals, crying is always seen as that weak character's thing, like, oh, look at that pussy, he's crying, huh, what a pussy. Well, here, it's just like, it's used as a strength and actually shows someone their humanity and their empathy and compassion for others. And there's also, just talking about the animation again, there's a lot of visual metaphors which I just love. You know me, I love those visual metaphors, all that stuff, where they're playing this, you know, this sport again, where they're passing the baton, and they're all running, and that's like, running is a common theme used in this anime that you see a lot. And oh boy, when it comes to those scenes in episode 9 and 10, tears, man, tears. But yeah, I feel like I talked about everything I need to talk about. And oh boy, I've talked about this for a while. I'm just looking at my recording right now, so I'll just end off the video here. So, I highly recommend Devilman. I think it is a good time. Well, probably not. It's very depressing anime when it comes to the end. But, you know, again, if you if just by the animation, that's what really pulled me into watching it, because it's like, it looks very different. And I think if this, you know, like, if this video has, like, made you think, oh, this looks pretty interesting, I definitely think you should look in. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is the opening. I really like the opening. It has a lot of hidden symbolism in there that you will not pick on unless you watch it for a second time, because on your second viewing, like, the opening teases a lot of things to happen in, you know, the anime, and you won't pick up on, like, pretty much any of them unless you've seen it, and that's really clever. I liked how they did that. So the opening is well done, it's got some nice animation in the opening. And yeah, that is my thoughts on Devilman Crybaby. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. That is my overall rating of the show. So make sure you guys check it out if you're interested. But anyway, that's been Magma Infinity signing out. So make sure you leave a like and share. And if you come across the channel this time, why not subscribe, as we're making more videos talking about, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to reveal my video plans. But yeah, there we go. So, peace.